Hello, my name is Judy Zorn, and I am the Executive Director of the Great Lakes Chamber Orchestra. Welcome to Tuesday Talks. My guest today is Julie Schleif, Principal Horn for the Great Lakes Chamber Orchestra. Welcome, Julie.
Thanks very much, Judy. It's great to be here.
Julie has been with the orchestra almost from the beginning, which is almost 20 years, so maybe 19 years or so. But we'll come back to that more toward the end of our chat today. But I think we are all interested, Julie, in exactly how you got started playing the horn. I know that you're originally from Minnesota, and why don't you tell us a little bit about your early years?
Well, it's actually quite interesting because in my family, my brother started on trumpet, played for a little bit, and then stopped. And no one in the family is exactly musical. But when I was younger, I really wanted to play an instrument. And on Saturday mornings, I remember watching cartoons and being really taken by some of the cartoons, sort of the Middle Eastern type thing. And I remember the snake charmer and the snake coming out of the basket. And I wanted to play the oboe more than anything because I just thought, that was so cool. So I told my mom that I really wanted to play the oboe. But my brother had quit playing the trumpet, and family decision kind of was, well, we already spent money on your brother. You'll probably quit too, so we're not going to buy an instrument. If you want to play an instrument, it has to be something that the school provides. So I thought about that, and I thought, okay, I won't play the oboe then, but I'd like to play the tuba. So Mr. Langley had one tuba, and there were two of us that wanted to play the tuba. There was myself, and there was a boy named Craig Thompson. I still remember his name very, very well. Guess who Mr. Langley chose to play the tuba?
Yes.
Craig Thompson, because he was a boy. And I was so offended by that. I thought that was just a terrible decision. But unfortunately, by the time he chose Craig to play the tuba, there were no instruments left. And I was heartbroken. I wanted to play because somewhere in my little head, I knew I was going to be a musician. Why? I had no idea, but I knew I would be a musician the rest of my life. So I kept pestering him, and one day in the custodian closet he found this little instrument and opens it up, but not so little, and it was a mellophone. And a mellophone is basically pretty much like a horn, but it has piston valves instead of rotary valves, and you play it with the other hand. And he said, here's this instrument, here's a mouthpiece, here's a book, go take it home, and when you're ready, come into the band. And so I did, and no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to get a sound.
Order, Julie.
So a little while into it, someone dropped, and there was a horn available, as most people call it, the French horn. So my career on the horn sort of got not a late start, but it was a little circuitous. And I just remember thinking, okay, this is the horn. I can't wait to play it. So that started my career. I, went home and played, and I just remember. My mom talks about this all the time, that, they practically asked me to play on the other side of the house and would cover their ears because somehow I was told that you had to use a lot of air, which I thought meant to play really loud. So I would just blast away in my room and not have any idea if I was playing the right notes. I was just blissfully playing away. And that's kind of the start of my music career was, no oboe, no tuba, got the mellophone out of the way and got started on a horn, and kind of the rest is history in many ways.
And so, now you're in what, 5th, 6th, 7th grade?
Started in 5th grade. So at some point in 5th grade, I moved to the horn. I'm not sure how soon after the custodial closet mellophone I got the horn, but it was somewhere at the end of 5th grade, I'd say.
Now, you went to high school in Minnesota too. Was there an orchestra at your high school?
Well, first 2 years of high school, I did junior high through 9th grade, did my sophomore year in Minneapolis. And yeah, there probably was an orchestra, but I was a really bad horn player. My family, none of us knew anything about private lessons. So I just played. I was in the lowest band. And really thought anyone who was in the upper band or played horn in the orchestra, I just adored them and worshiped them. As a matter of fact, my roommate in college was a much better horn player than me. And we knew each other quite a while, and she took lessons from Mrs. Davis. I remember thinking, wow, lessons, that'd be so cool. Not knowing that why I should or shouldn't take them. And Betty majored in psychology though, and never played the horn again. And I toddled my way through and still play the horn.
So now you move from the Minnesota to Chicago area. And
Right.
wow, as I think you mentioned, as a senior in high school, that had to be
Junior.
junior.
I moved as a junior.
Then-
Yeah, 2 years left. But my heart was still in Minnesota, and I would never recommend this. And I've worked really hard with students when they move and are new in an area. I knew it would be hard. I had just sort of stopped, being incredibly shy, and had made some friends in the first year of high school. We moved to Chicago area, and I just was so mad at my parents. I told them it was going to be miserable to make me move. Don't make me move. We moved to Chicago, and I made sure I was miserable for those 2 years. But music was my salvation. I played in the jazz band. I played in the band. I played in the orchestra. I think it was basically my first experience playing in an orchestra. And as maybe marginally good as it was, the experience it was magical. I liked band, but I loved orchestra.
Wow. So now you head back to Minnesota, and you're in college, a small college, I think, and you are playing.
Right. My heart was still in Minnesota. Pardon me. So I always knew for some reason I wanted to go to this particular college. No particular reason. I went to a small liberal arts college, Swedish Lutheran liberal arts college, Gustavus Adolphus College, about 90 minutes from Minneapolis in St. Peter, Minnesota. Very small music program. There was one other horn major, probably that I know of, period, at the school. Maybe there have been some since I left, but it was a very small music program, but that's where I wanted to go. It had strong academics, and I figured, doesn't matter where you go to school, you can get a job. If you practice, I was very naive. Practice and take lessons, I'm gonna get a job in an orchestra.
Well, amazing. You come to Michigan and for a master's degree. And then, so all of this time, these 4, 5, 6, 7 years, you must have really taken off with your horn playing, because after your master's degree, you got a couple jobs in orchestras, correct?
Well, the funny thing was, I finished my master's and I didn't have anything going on, and I got an announcement that there was an opening in this small orchestra in Texas, and this was the day of cassette tapes. So I made my little cassette tape and sent it down, and for all I know, I was the only one that sent a tape, but I wasn't doing anything, had nothing going on. So I got into my car and put my belongings in my car and drove to Midland, Texas for my first job. I was third horn and music librarian in West Texas in a time of great oil money and great resistance to Yankees down in Texas. So it was interesting playing there, but I had my same car packed the day the season was over, because I was driving up to Chicago, and I was going to take lessons with the principal horn of the Chicago Symphony, Dale Clevenger, and I was going to be a freelancer, and I was very excited to move back north again and see what I could, what I could make of myself coming back north and taking all the auditions that we all took auditions. And, it was the same group of people. We would, drive or fly all over the country and take these auditions, just crossing our fingers that was the audition. It was going to, pave your way in gold and give you that full-time job or good part-time job.
Great. So from there, did you then come back to Michigan?
No, actually, interestingly enough, I was in Chicago freelancing, playing a lot. I remember actually this time of year, one of my favorite things was to play the Nutcracker.
Mhm.
And we would probably do upwards of 40 times of the Nutcracker. And uh, I made it a point. It was very interesting. Some people, got a little jaded. But I just remember thinking, every time I play the Nutcracker, even if I've played it 14 times in a week, there's some little kid in the audience who's never heard it before, and I want to make it special for them, because it can be really hard playing the same piece over and over.
Yes.
And I didn't ever want to just sit back and take it for granted. I wanted to make sure it was sparkling as the best I could every performance.
Right.
And I tried to keep that going. Sometimes I get a little frustrated myself, but I someone once told me, and I think a lot of us think it, but they said, perform like you practice and practice like you perform. And so I've always wanted to stay that way, that every time I pick up my instrument, it's gonna, if I can get my mindset, I want the best sound to come out every single time.
I like that.
No matter if there's one person in the audience or if it's packed.
Exactly. Well, you find yourself up at Interlochen, and that's what brings you back to Michigan.
Right. In a circuitous way, I had spent 3 years down in Tempe, Arizona at Arizona State working on my doctorate, and I was nearly close to finishing it, and an opportunity came up to come up to Interlochen and teach at the Arts Academy. And I knew the reputation because my teacher from Michigan State, Doug Campbell, and his wife, Ellen Campbell, both taught at the camp in the summers, and I would visit them, and I knew from them what a special place it could be for young aspiring musicians. And so I thought it would be a great challenge. I thought, teaching at this high school is as good as teaching at many universities because the talent is so strong.
Yes, yes, it is. It's an amazing place, that's for sure. And now you are doing so much studio teaching, aren't you, Julie?
Well, yeah, I teach a little different than what it was at Interlochen. I teach all brass, and which I really enjoy, because when I teach a trumpet player, I have to think trumpet. I play everything on my horn, so I have to transpose in a different way and work a little differently. If I teach a tuba player, I have to go down into the lowest parts of my range. And sometimes when I teach a horn player, I have to think, okay, the note I'm seeing is the note I'm supposed to play. So, and it's really exciting for me because in the years of teaching all brass, I've had kids major in music on every brass instrument. And I'm really proud of the fact that you can take what you've got and translate it to any instrument. Music is music, and I'm really proud of the students I've had on all instruments, and the wonderful students that are fine adults now on the horn playing in major orchestras in the country.
Well, I'm sure it keeps you very fresh as a teacher. You have to be,
Absolutely.
and, and congratulations to you. I'm sure that you could go on and on listing, where some of you students are and where they're performing, and that has to feel so very good. How exciting for you, Julie.
Really great, and that they're in touch regularly. I just had a former student who plays in the New York Phil send me some pictures the other day of this. She says, I just got this new toy, and she just got a new horn from a maker in the Netherlands, and she was really excited about it. And I like being able to share their success with them in my own small way. And they're a lot of them have become very close friends, and that's a wonderful thing.
Is she finding some performing opportunities?
Well, actually, what was really great a couple of years ago, this same student in the New York Phil called and asked if I would be interested in coming out and performing with the New York Phil in a series of concerts they did. And it not only was it a joy to play with such a great orchestra, not that I had a big part, but to play with them, but it was a type of thing that kind of brings tears to your eyes when you see that student that you remember as this in this case, little short cross-country runner who played I remember her first lesson comes in with this beat up horn, and my brain, I thought, she's going far. And to see them on stage in these prestigious halls, you just think, man, that's that's something that's so special, just brings a tear to your eye.
It does. It does. It does. It gives you goosebumps. And what more could any teacher want but have your students be successful and be doing what you've taught them? And she's
Right.
born in the New York Phil, for heaven's sakes. How exciting is that?
Yeah, it's a wonderful feeling, and to know you've had a part in it. And to see them as adults and see the great people that a lot of them have become, that's a joy too. That they remember some of the things you taught them.
You, I'm quite sure I recall that you have been teaching online long before COVID. And so all of this new online teaching platform and stuff was not exactly new to you.
Right.
So you have some online students, but you also have some students you're in the Traverse City area, so you also teach there too.
Well, right now, the last 9 months, every single lesson has been online, and it's hard on the kids. It's trickier. It's different. The teaching is different. You have to reorganize how you're doing it. But I'm thankful I've been doing it. I've probably been, some of my students, especially in the UP, I've been teaching for probably 6, 7, 8 years. And the good news is, though, the internet is so much better for it. I regularly would have to schedule like an hour and a half for an hour lesson, just because we would break up so much or have to redial. So thankfully, things have gotten a lot stronger. And I'm also, I know more how to do it so that I don't waste as much time. It's a different kind of teaching, but you can, literally teach someone from anywhere in the world. And it can really work. And especially, in the UP, some of these kids would have to drive 4 or 5 hours to get somewhere to take a lesson, and it is a really great substitute. And there's some things that you can't do. I can't teach right hand position because I can't see where their right hand is because I'm not sitting right next to them. But if we're really lucky to be able to have each other and do this. And but on the other hand, I'm longing for the days I can sit and stand next to my students again.
Exactly.
And I think, in my mind, I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. But we all have to be safe, of course. But I know they're looking forward to it, and I am too. A lot of what we're doing right now with kids is just trying to keep them happy and engaged on their instrument. It's not the same, but you can make the most of it.
Well, we at the orchestra are also looking forward to the time when we can all be together. And as I started off by saying, you have been a longtime member of the Great Lakes Chamber Orchestra. You are our principal horn player and probably started, if not in 2000, maybe 2001.
I don't remember exactly when I started. Bev Eisenbarger, who is our second horn player, we met along the way after I moved up this way, and she started taking lessons with me. And at a certain point, she said, would you be interested in playing in this new chamber orchestra? She said, I would like to play second if you'd like to play first. And I said, sure. I mean, it sounded like a fun thing to me. And from, I think the concerts were just a few at starting, but the orchestra has grown greatly. The quality of the players, the people really staying with the orchestra, continuity of players. It's come a long way, and a chamber orchestra is a really wonderful avenue. I like chamber music very much, in a chamber orchestra. It fulfills a different need than a full orchestra often does. And you feel a lot more, each part is a lot more integral, I think. And so I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, we feel like we are a very integral part of particularly this area, Harbor Springs, Petoskey, Charlevoix, Emmett County and beyond area, as we are able to provide a professional quality orchestral music for our audience and our constituents. I am so happy that you out there, our audience members, and all of you that have tuned in are getting a little bit of a closer look at Julie and who Julie is. You and I, we have seen Julie on stage for all these years, and it's nice to have her come out from behind the string players, if you will,
Yeah.
and for us to be able to see her close up and to be able to hear a little bit about what has made Julie this phenomenal horn player that she is. So Julie, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today.
Well, it's my pleasure. It was fun to talk and just chat about some things that have been part of my experience throughout my life. And I hope that people enjoyed hearing about the personal side of people.
Great, thank you very much. We are getting very close to the Christmas holiday, and I wish all the best and a safe and healthy and happy holiday to everybody. And I thank you for tuning in, and thank you for all the support that you show to the Great Lakes Chamber Orchestra in the past and certainly now as we navigate our new normal. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody.